Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this podcast, I'm going to explain about the second chapter in the Principles and Art of Cure by Homeopathy by Dr. H.A. Roberts. And so the second chapter is about Introduction to the Study of Homeopathy. So if you turn to the end of the chapter, there are a few questions through which the explanation can be easily understood given in the respective chapter. So I'll be dealing in the same way. So keep listening to this podcast, and learning in a Q&A mode is really helpful and will help us in understanding the matter in a better way. So the first question given in here is, how can we learn what is curative in drugs? So we can learn how a drug becomes a remedy or a medicine by two ways. That is by experiments. That means both in experimental provings and in clinical use. And the basis upon which this knowledge of drug action is built is a profound and basic element of homeopathic procedure. This is something which is really important and should be remembered, because most of the people think that something which is proven through experimental provings, that is which is nothing but the thing which is given in Materia Medica, is whole and soul guide for selection of a remedy. But not only that, but getting your experience through the clinical use is also helpful in determining whether that given remedy works in a better way or not. So these are the two things that determine how curatively what is the curative power of a given remedy. So the second question is, compare the value of homeopathy in chronic and acute work. So how can we rely upon homeopathy in acute and chronic diseases, in short? So what explanation H.A. Roberts gave is, if a man follows where homeopathy leads, he must be able to follow those laws and to hold close to them regardless of pressure or influence. To be honest, we have to remember one thing, that there is something called as internal dynamic force, which is called as vital force, and unless and until it is not disturbed, a person is said to be in health. And if a person is diseased, then the vital force is disturbed. So our aim should be in restoration of the vital force and help the body in healing itself. So our medicines just do that. We don't remove something which is not therein, or we don't add something to the body. Instead, we just repair what is being not operated in a correct way. So on the other hand, the very principles which he follows stabilize him and make him sure in his work. So don't confuse yourself. The principle which he is mentioning, according to me, is that vital dynamic force. That's all. This stability can be maintained equally well in chronic work, in acute cases, or amidst the panics of epidemics of unknown origin, such as influenza, polio, outbreaks of such conditions as encephalitis, and if you take recent one, COVID-19 as well. For here, as in all other manifestation of illness, the fundamental laws remain firm and intact, and they are sufficiently basic to provide a sure guide to health. So our whole and soul guide to be health is like based on symptomatology, and our aim should be in restoration of vital force. And the third question that is given is, how does a homeopathic physician regard seemingly confusing symptoms? So this is a very common question, like what are those PQRS symptoms and what are the symptoms that help us in guiding to the remedy straight away. So there is a very easy explanation given, that is, the physician must learn that the symptoms that under ordinary training or like normal medical school would have been discarded as confusing the issue or as of no value are the very symptoms which to the homeopathic physician simplify the case and provide the strongest clues to the surest method of assistance. So if you want an example, that means, like if you take calcarea carp, there are some symptoms like they sweat only on forehead, and they have this abdominal protrusion as if an inverted saucer, and they have this sour sweat, and they like eggs. To be honest, if you ask medically, there isn't any sound explanation or underlying pathology where we can attribute these symptoms to, but they are the things which help us in guiding calcarea carb selection in a given patient, for a given patient. So these are the things, and this is the way we have to characterize the symptoms and choose a remedy. And in what relationship does homeopathy consider the sickness of local parts? So it is clearly given that the very foundation of homeopathic practice considers man not only as an individual but as a complete unit in himself, of which all his parts comprise a well balanced whole. Homeopathy therefore does not consider any one part being ill but considers the manifestation of illness in one part in its relation to the whole man. So if we think that is a person is suffering with a skin disorder, that doesn't mean the skin is only of ill health in that given person, but in general illness is being projected through the skin, which is a weaker chain or say weaker part of that given individual according to his susceptibility or say according to the miasmatic influence and so on. So to keep it simple, it differs from person to person, but homeopathy never considers a lone part is suffering and whole body is healthy, but it implies that one of the part is not working well, then it implies the whole body is under disturbance. So that is the idea behind homeopathic functioning. And the next question given in here is why do we feel that the knowledge of drugs and their reaction assembled and recorded by homeopathy is truly scientific? So this is something we need to ask ourselves. So when I asked myself this question, because it is collected after examination on different age groups, different genders, in different conditions, and it has been collected without any prejudice in mind and by so dedicated physicians we are blessed to have as homeopathic pillars. So apart from that, it has been recorded in such a beautiful way, and the minutest symptoms have been recorded in such a way that we have so many symptoms. In fact, there are thousands of pages dedicated to just the findings that have been found out in just single remedy. If you take sulfur, if you go to the original scriptures of Hahnemann's Materia Medica Pura, there are so many symptoms under sulfur. So there has been symptoms have been gathered in such an extensive way, we can't say it it will be wrong if we say it's not a scientific one. So of course homeopathy is truly scientific. What is a larger definition of homeopathy? Answer is already given over here. A system of medicine based upon natural laws. That means a body is capable of healing itself when the vital force is strengthened, and that is done by homeopathic remedies. That's all. How does homeopathy regard gross physical pathology? So the gross physical pathology such as we find in gallstones, we do not prescribe for, but we do prescribe for the patient being guided by the symptoms which began in the perversion of vital process which preceded and accompanied the ultimate development of gallstones. So if a person comes to you with gallstones, it is your responsibility to prescribe for gallstones, but not only for gallstones. You need to consider the symptoms accompanying that, or say the symptoms that preceded the formation of gallstones. These all things form the totality, and of course they are the true guide for the remedy selection. And the next question given in here is, what did Hahnemann mean by removing all obstacles to cure? So Hahnemann regarded the removal of all obstacles to cure as absolutely essential before he attempted to proceed to the selection and administration of the remedy, which was homeopathic to the symptoms of the individual case, by which alone the cure is to be accomplished. So what may be the obstacles? They may be in the form of constant stress, physical stress, lack of exercise, and lack of malnourished or say undernourished food and malnourishment and constant stressors. So these are some obstacles to cure, and upon removal of these only we can expect cure or recovery in the person. So the 10th question is, how does disease manifest itself? So there is a very great explanation given for this, but as the podcast have become a bit longer, you may be getting bored. So I'll be answering the further questions in the next podcast. So that's what I wanted to share in this podcast. Hope this podcast was helpful. Till then, bye and have a great day. Bye.